this past week, the thing I've done is I joined a new cult, which is the red light cult. Now I'm learning. I went down a new rabbit hole. I used the opportunity to, we have a new neighbor, Dr. Jack Cruz, who he's a neurosurgeon, so he actually operates on brains and stuff. Like, he does useful stuff.
Yeah, this guy, Dr. Cruz, is pretty amazing in terms of his professional credentials. He's a guy who that works in trauma in hospitals and ends up doing brain surgery. And so he is pushing this idea of avoiding blue light and to get in touch with red light. I myself am not very far down this rabbit hole either. But I believe that's kind of
a lot of modern illnesses, including the obesity epidemic. A lot of people are trying to figure out what the heck has gone on. And people say, oh, it's corn syrup and, GMOs and processed food and stuff like that. But one thing also that has been introduced is blue lights. Like, we used to have incandescent lights. We used to, before that, candlelight, and more outdoors. We would be outdoors, right, which, of course, the sun provides. It's not, it provides the full spectrum of the UV spectrum. In the house, everything became like under environmentalism, right? It's now everything is LED, and those are pure blue light. And so you're missing all the other part of the spectrum. And on top of it, like it disrupts your sleep. It disrupts all of the hormones that your body produces. It messes with your melanin, with your melatonin, with your dopamine, all the stuff that you need to stay healthy and sane. So when you also look at the suicide epidemic in the US and the fentanyl epidemic, which is part of the suicide epidemic, these are signs that people's brains are being messed up. And this is not just like, the food, and it's not just atomization, or like people have trying to figure out what has happened. And this is the rabbit hole I'm going down. I'm trying to see how I feel, doing some red light therapy, wearing the red glasses, avoiding more of the LEDs, getting the morning sun. That has been a great time this past week, going out at 6:30 a.m. every day and sitting in the sun for an hour. Before, it doesn't cause you any sunburn or anything like that, but you get the morning sun. And it could be because we didn't work that much and we were just hanging out by the pool and just relaxing that I feel good, but we'll see.
I think there's a lot of truth to it for several reasons. We're all old enough to have home phones, and now this thing that we just sit there and scroll, and I catch myself doing it sometimes, and I'm like, I want to throw this crack pipe out the window. You need it as a tool, like, to promote social media. And I really noticed too, like, as a surfer, so I turn my phone off before I go to sleep, and I don't pick it up until after I wake up in the morning, and I meditate and I read and I write, and then I turn on my phone. And then, like, I went surfing this morning, so I spent an hour and a half in the sun, in the waves, no electronics, no nothing. I wear an analog watch, and the connecting with the ocean and nature is really, I see it. If I'm in, like, bummed out, sad, depressed, angry, whatever, and I can just go surf, it changes. It's my physiologically change. And then I've caught myself scrolling and I'm watching these videos and I'm getting mad because it's some conflict. And I'm like, oh, they're trying to get me and all of us all pissed off. And these kids, and I mean, children today, they're put in front of these things, and sure, my generation was put in front of the TV and MTV, but this is 10 times worse. Because
it's all blue light. And that's TVs, our old TVs were not like that. These are just pure blue light, and it's right into their eyes. And they're playing these all day long, and it's messing with their brains. And I don't know if it's fixable, really, because they're growing up like that. That's when you're that age and your brain is still forming, and you're everything is still being built. So, at least we're old and disintegrating.
But I've seen, the building I live in in Los Angeles, there's a lot of there's some college kids and there's a lot of sort of Gen Z and millennial, and they walk.
Yeah.
They just walk
like
through
that.
and they got their vape pen and they just,
Yeah.
and I'm like, Gen X, hi, how are you? And they're like, eye contact, and they mumble away in their phone. And I'm just like, they don't know. I mean, we grew up in a time where I would call your house if we were kids and go, hi, Mr. Keiser, is Max? And I go, hi, Graham. And I'd have to talk to your parents. And your parents would ask me questions.
Right.
And if I was rude, your parents would call if I was out screwing around in the neighborhood, I'd get these calls. Oh, hi, Linda. Oh, really? Graham?
I used to just go to my neighbor's house and knock on the door and hey, yeah, can Maureen come out and play? And they'd be like, yeah, okay. And I'd just I'd walk in and just go to the refrigerator, open the refrigerator, get a Coca-Cola out of there or something. Who knows? We didn't really have iced tea out of the refrigerator and walk to Maureen's room and get her.
I remember we have a phone basically. So there was that mad dash when the phone rang.
Yeah.
Yes.
The phone. So it's I have to run and get that phone, before they hang up.
Yeah.
Hello.
And you didn't know who was on the other end. Remember that just the lottery of it? Who's on the phone?
Yeah.
I don't know. This is before caller ID. This is before any of that. I mean, I think this is the golden age of crank phone calls when you could just call people up and make it. That's all I did as a kid.
Oh, no. Then you know what caused all the hell to break loose? Max Keiser and the bankers in the 80s. They started cold calling. I grew up in Connecticut, which is the richest state in the U.S. And my God, all summer long, it would be hi, I'm Max Keiser. Is your mother there? No, not your mother. Of course, it'd be, is your father there? Because I have some stocks to sell him.
Oh, I remember talking to one of those penny stock guys when I was 12, and it was about 10 minutes into the call. When he goes, how old are you? I said, I'm 15. He was like, oh, God.
Too bad. Another 6 months, you'd be buying stocks.
I would, yes.
But you know who started at the same time, but who never dropped that personality is Peter Schiff.
Right.
Peter Schiff and I started on Wall Street about the same time, the same firm, Shearson Lehman Hutton, thereabouts, and doing the same job. And but he just has never stopped, and he never broke out of that. Every single time you talk to Peter Schiff, there was that story, he was on a cruise ship, and he was trying to sell a fellow passenger his gold cufflinks, and somehow this got back to somebody telling this story. But I can understand that. You're on a ship, you need to sell somebody something, because you're just a trained salesman. You have to be selling all the time. So you're some poor grandma's at breakfast, and you're like, hey, I noticed you like my gold cufflinks. How would you like to buy them? And just trap her for half an hour trying to get her to buy her gold cufflinks. I'm sure that's what happened, because you never broke out of it.
That's the thing, though. That's where we are in crypto. So it was like Max had been describing. It was so fun to run for the phone. It was ringing. It was who is it? Who is it? It's my friend. It's Maureen. It's grandma. It's somebody doing something cool. And then it started to be I'm not answering the phone. It's a fucking banker. They're trying to sell me some stocks. Forget that. So, and it's the same thing with when they come sending emails or knocking at our door now. It's just hey, we got a blockchain solution for a made up problem. And you're yeah, okay, right. And it's an amazing opportunity to get in on the ground floor right now. This is only going up.
Yeah.
I put another client in this blockchain, in this meme coin, and they turned $3,000 into $1 million in just one day. And so this is okay.
It's the same old tactic too. It's oh, I don't know if this deal's going to last. You want to jump on it now? I got another couple coming in to look at the same Buick or whatever the thing. It's the same thing. Yeah. And now it's more sophisticated. So one of the tweets, Stacy, that you put up there was about the GDP, right? And in El Salvador going up. It's now 11% of the GDP is tourism.
Tourism, yeah.
Which is awesome. And it's a really cool thing. But anytime any of the three of us post anything, there's these automated scam crypto bots that are oh, awesome. Have you thought about, and they're just trying to pitch some shit coin on every one of our tweets from the Orange Pill account. Yeah. I'm wow, this is it's ruthless.
It is ruthless. Yeah. It's unstoppable. But talking about salesmen, we should pay nod in appreciation for some master salesmen like Billy Mays, who sold OxyCleaner on TV became a legend. And that guy, Vince, who sells that nut chopper and says, you're going to love my nuts. These guys.
So those were the days that we grew up. They
level.
were selling OxyClean to these Zoomers. They grew up being sold OxyContin on television, right? So this is the difference. Like,
the ShamWow guy, I could watch that guy 24/7. You know, zucchini, martini, linguine made no sense. He just rhymed words. It's like fantastic.
Yeah.
And we should also plug our sponsor, swanbitcoin.com, swan.com/orange pill, because at least this is giving you, it is a true opportunity for self-sovereignty and independence, true independence.
You're going to love Swan's nuts.
You're going to love Swan's nuts.
You're going to love Swan's nuts.
You're going to love Swan's nuts. And the other thing too is why I would say if anyone's new, like where do I buy, is go to Swan, because all the other exchanges, they're going to try to pitch you crypto. That's part of it. The exchanges go, you know, we'll stake your fill in the blank shitcoin, you know, we'll give you, and they're like Coinbase does answer these, you know, watch these tutorials and you get, you know, $5 in Cardano, which I tell people, if you're going to do that, then immediately convert it to Bitcoin. Like just that's a great way to get free Bitcoin. But they have such a structure to get you to invest your money. You know, it's almost like they don't want you to buy Bitcoin. They're like, buy some Bitcoin, but you really need to buy this other bullshit. Like,
look at Dave Portnoy, the Winklevoss got him into some shit coins. So he sold everything, including his Bitcoin. Then like a year later, he's crying, oh my God, why did I sell my Bitcoin? So hopefully he'll get on the right path.